Okay, so get this. En Vogue, right? 90s R&B. Free your mind.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Well, founding member Dawn Robinson is living a totally different kind of freedom these days, and get this, it's in her car.
Wow, in her car.
Yeah, so we've got this recent YouTube video where she kind of spills all the tea, so we're going to unpack this whole journey from pop star to embracing this whole car life thing. Like, what led her to this? Is this a desperate move? Is this like a deliberate choice? What's going on?
Yeah, that's super interesting. It really challenges our assumptions about success, right?
Yeah,
We picture celebrities living these luxurious lives, and then to see someone willingly choose a simpler, more unconventional path, it's pretty intriguing.
totally. So her story starts back in 2020. She moved back to Vegas to live with her parents.
Okay.
Talk about a contrast from red carpets to like moving back in with mom and dad.
Yeah, huge change. I mean, it is a reminder that even with fame and fortune, we all crave those fundamental connections, right?
Mhm.
Going back to family. But family dynamics can be complex. And her story highlights that even these seemingly positive changes can come with unexpected challenges.
That's so true. And she's talked about how living with her mom, while initially it was a comfort, it became strained. There was tension there, even though she loved her mom. And she even said, that was wonderful until it wasn't, which I think perfectly captures that shift.
Yeah, definitely. It makes you wonder about those unspoken expectations we often place on family relationships, right?
Right.
Like we assume they should always be this source of unconditional support, but the reality is often much more complicated.
Right. And from there, she decided to head to Los Angeles for a fresh start. She had a former manager who'd promised her a place to stay, which, you'd think good break, right?
Yeah, you would hope so. Sounds like a chance for some stability.
Yeah.
But as we often see, promises can fall through.
And they did. She ended up living in a hotel for 8 months.
Wow.
Imagine that constant uncertainty, searching for an apartment, facing rejection, never quite feeling settled. And you've talked about the psychological impact of housing instability before. What comes to mind here?
Oh, man. Well, you have to consider the mental and emotional toll that takes. It's not just about having a roof over your head. It's about having that sense of security and control, a place where you can truly unwind and be yourself.
For sure. And it's during this period of uncertainty that she ends up sleeping in her car for a month of sheer necessity. And this is where things take a really interesting turn
Okay.
because it's this experience that leads her to the car life movement online.
Oh, wow.
So she finds this whole community of people who've chosen to live in their cars, vans, RVs, and what strikes her isn't the desperation, but the sense of freedom that they embrace.
Huh. There's a real pushback against societal norms here.
Hmm.
We're constantly bombarded with messages about the American dream,
Yeah.
right? And that often revolves around home ownership, material possessions.
Yeah.
This challenges all that.
You're totally right. I mean, we've seen this trend growing, right? This whole van life movement, tiny homes. People are questioning traditional ideas of success and looking for alternatives.
Absolutely. And, research actually backs this up. There's studies that have shown that experiences tend to bring more lasting happiness than possessions do. So it's not just this fringe movement. It taps into a real shift in values.
I love how you connect that back to the research. That's super interesting. And for her, it seems like it was a revelation. She's described her first night watching the sunset from her car as feeling like an unplanned camping trip.
Oh, yeah, I can see that. There's a certain romanticism to it, right? You're stripping away all the excess. You're connecting with nature, finding contentment in simplicity.
Yeah.
Makes you rethink what home really means.
And here's the thing, and this is crucial. She isn't living in her car out of desperation. She's choosing this. She's consciously stepping away from societal expectations to embrace a path that feels more authentic.
That's a bold move,
Yeah.
right? It flips the script on what we're told we should be striving for. But I think it also raises an important question. Is there a risk of romanticizing this car life? I mean, it can't be all sunsets and freedom, right? There has to be challenges too.
That's a really good point. Maybe that's something we can explore as we dive deeper. It's easy to get caught up in those appealing parts of the story, but there's always more to the picture.
Right. Yeah, I mean, it's easy to glamorize this whole car life thing, but it's important to acknowledge that there's, two sides to every coin.
Mm.
Like, what are some of the downsides that we might not be seeing?
Totally. Yeah. I mean, while there's a definite appeal to the freedom and the mobility, I mean, there are practical challenges, right? Like finding safe places to park overnight, access to basic amenities like showers and laundry. I mean, dealing with extreme weather conditions. It's not always glamorous.
Oh, for sure. Yeah. It's almost like you're trading one set of challenges for another. Instead of worrying about mortgage payments, you're worried about finding a safe parking spot.
Right, exactly. And then there's also the social aspect to consider. We're social creatures,
All right.
right?
Right.
By nature, and living in a confined space it can get isolating. Maintaining relationships, social connections can become more difficult.
Yeah.
It makes you wonder about the long-term sustainability of this lifestyle. Like,
Yeah.
it might be great for a while, but can you really live in a car forever?
Yeah, that's a good point. It really depends on the individual and their circumstances, right?
Yeah.
For some, it might be a temporary solution, kind of a stepping stone as they're transitioning into something else. For others, it might be a deliberate choice that really aligns with their values and priorities.
So it's not this one size fits all kind of thing.
Right.
It's about like finding what works for you and being realistic about the trade-offs.
Exactly. And it's important to remember that, her story is just one perspective, right?
Hmm.
There are tons of other people embracing alternative lifestyles, and their experiences might be completely different.
You're right. It's so easy to generalize, but everybody's journey is unique. Speaking of unique journeys, let's circle back to her decision to document her experience, like make a documentary about it. What do you make of that?
I think it's a brilliant move, honestly. I
Hmm.
mean, she's using her platform to shine a light on this alternative way of life,
Hmm.
and potentially challenge societal norms. It's a powerful way to spark conversations and inspire others to question the status quo.
I can't wait to see it. I have a feeling it's going to resonate with a lot of people, especially those who are feeling disillusioned with that, traditional path to success.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's not just about those who are considering, living in a car.
Right.
It's about anyone who's questioning their priorities and looking for a more fulfilling way of life.
It's interesting how her story ties into this broader trend of minimalism and decluttering, right?
Yeah.
We're constantly bombarded with messages to buy more stuff, but there's this growing movement pushing back against that.
It's a reaction to the excesses of consumerism, right? People are realizing that happiness isn't found in material possessions. It's about experiences. It's about connections, living a life that's aligned with your values.
And for her, it seems like her car has become this symbol of that. It's not just a vehicle, it's a vessel for her journey of self-discovery and freedom.
It's a powerful metaphor.
Yeah.
She's literally shedding the weight of societal expectations and embracing a simpler, more authentic way of being.
And that's a message that I think resonates with so many people. We're all searching for that sense of freedom, whether it's financial freedom, creative freedom, or just like the freedom to be ourselves.
Absolutely. And her story reminds us that we don't have to follow a prescribed path.
Yeah.
We have the power to create our own definitions of success and happiness.
And that's a really empowering message.
It is.
It's about taking control of your life and making choices that align with your values, even if those choices are unconventional.
Exactly. It's about breaking free from the mold and forging your own path. And sometimes the most unexpected journeys lead to the most profound discoveries.
I love that. Like a reminder that it's okay to color outside the lines, to experiment and explore different ways of living. And who knows, maybe you'll stumble upon something truly extraordinary.
Yeah, I think that's a great point. And, it's okay to make mistakes along the way, too.
Yeah,
Sometimes the biggest lessons come from the detours and the, unexpected turns.
that's such good advice. Embrace the journey, learn from the bumps in the road, and don't be afraid to try something new.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And remember, there's no one right way to live. It's all about finding what brings you joy and living a life that feels authentic to you.
Beautifully said. And on that note, I think it's time to kind of shift gears and delve into something that you touched on earlier, which is this psychological impact of housing instability.
Okay.
Dawn experienced this firsthand when she was living in that hotel for 8 months, and it's something that so many people face, often silently.
You're right. It's a critical issue that deserves way more attention. I mean, the stress of not having a stable place to live,
Mhm.
it can be incredibly debilitating.
Yeah.
It affects your mental health, your physical well-being, your relationships. It impacts every single aspect of your life.
She talked about the constant uncertainty and the feeling of being stuck in limbo.
Yeah.
It's like you're constantly on edge, never able to fully relax or feel at home.
It's important to remember this isn't just about individuals.
Right. Yeah.
Housing instability has ripple effects on families, on communities, and society as a whole.
It's a complex issue with no easy solutions, but I think the first step is acknowledging the problem and recognizing the human cost, right?
Yeah.
We need to have more compassion and understanding for those who are struggling, and we need to work towards creating more affordable housing options.
I completely agree. We need to shift the narrative from blaming individuals to addressing the systemic issues that are contributing to housing instability. It's about creating a society where everyone has access to safe, affordable housing, regardless of their circumstances.
So well said. And I think her story, while highlighting an unconventional choice, it also shines a light on this broader issue.
Yeah,
It reminds us that everyone has a story, and we need to be more compassionate and understanding towards those who are facing challenges.
absolutely.
Yeah.
We never know what someone else is going through, and a little bit of kindness can go a long way.
I think that's a beautiful sentiment to carry with us as we move forward. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive, and it sparked some really thought-provoking conversations.
Yeah, it has been a fascinating exploration, and I hope it's encouraged our listeners to, challenge their assumptions and think outside the box.
Man, it's been a wild ride with this deep dive, right?
Yeah, it really has.
We've gone from the glitz and glam of 90s R&B to exploring this whole lifestyle that, most wouldn't even consider. I have to say though, I'm feeling really inspired by her courage to just break the mold.
Yeah, it definitely makes you pause and rethink those default settings we have about success and happiness. It's even more remarkable, how she's using her experience to create something meaningful, for others.
Right.
This documentary has the potential to be really impactful.
I think so too. And it's not just about promoting car life, but just showing the world that there are these alternative paths out there, right?
Okay.
Ones that might resonate with people who are feeling lost or unfulfilled by that traditional route.
It's like she's holding up a mirror to society and saying, hey, there are other ways to live. Maybe it's time we question what we've been told about what a good life should look like.
Totally. And you know what? Maybe that's the ultimate takeaway from her story. It's not about glorifying a specific lifestyle, but about empowering each of us to define what freedom and happiness truly mean to us, right?
Absolutely. It's about having the courage to break free from expectations, embrace the unknown, and create a life that just feels authentic and fulfilling.
So as we wrap up this deep dive, I want to leave our listeners with one final question to ponder.
Okay.
If conventional paths just don't feel right, what alternatives are out there waiting to be explored?
That's a powerful question to sit with. It might be something big like a complete lifestyle change or something small, like picking up a new hobby or connecting with nature more. But the key is to listen to that inner voice and just be open to those new possibilities.
Beautifully said. Maybe it's time to dust off those dreams we tucked away, the ones that felt too out there or too impractical. What if we gave ourselves permission to explore those paths, even if they seem unconventional?
Who knows what we might discover? I mean, the world is full of amazing opportunities and experiences just waiting to be uncovered. Her story is a powerful reminder that, sometimes the most unexpected detours lead to the most incredible destinations.
This has been such an eye-opening conversation. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into Dawn Robinson's incredible journey. And to everyone listening, keep questioning, keep exploring, and keep redefining what freedom means to you. We'll catch you next time for another fascinating deep dive into a new and exciting topic.